Hey, everybody, welcome back to Pretend World's Real People. As always, I'm Tyler, and yeah, I know this is kind of an unorthodox time to release an episode over the weekend, but this was an opportunity that I could not pass up. I had a chance to talk to somebody who is not only with the same agency I'm with down in New Mexico, Fergan Mayer, but somebody who booked their first audition with the agency, and it was Stranger Things. It's amazing. So just starting off of that, I wanted to know so much about his process and how he got into acting. But as we were talking, you get to learn so much more about Roger. He's not just an actor. He's somebody who had a whole life before the industry. I mean, he grew up basically internationally. He found theater in Scotland. Then he accrued a very lucrative rugby career where he was traveling the world. He ended up, working at this shipped uh, nightclub slash cafe from Paris that all of the 1920s artists hung out at. That was moved to New Orleans, and then suddenly he's he's talking to like Quentin Tarantino or Beyonce. He's had a whole career, a whole life before acting, but then on top of that, he is also an amazing animal rights activist and an environmental activist. He's done so much, and I just can't say enough in the intro. It was a blast talking to him. We had never met before, never spoken before, but I'm glad we had a chance to sit down and talk to each other because this guy is amazing. I am so glad we had a chance to connect. Can't wait to bring him back on the show. Can't wait to see and talk to him in real life because he's one of those people that you can only come across once in a lifetime. And I wish him the best of luck. I know he's going to do great things. I just I can't give him enough credit in this episode or in this intro for who he is. He's just fantastic. So I hope all of you are excited. This is going to be a fantastic conversation, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to bringing him back on the show because this guy is going to skyrocket. So I'm going to shut up. Let's just start the conversation. Let's sit down and chat with the amazing Roger Ivens.
All right, well, my name is Roger Ivens, and I'm an actor. Who I am. That's a loaded question, but I guess I can tell you where it all started from. I was born in Miami, Florida, to a German father and a Colombian Venezuelan mother. She's a little bit of a gypsy and responsible for bringing with me, all over the world, which has a lot to do with, how I am in nature and how that translates to film, which we can get into a little later. So she brought us to Bermuda at a young age where my animal activism flourished. And then from there, we moved to Glasgow, Scotland, where I fell in love with theater and rugby and became an international rugby player. So who I am is, an actor, rugby player, animal philanthropist in a nutshell, I guess you could say.
Holy crap. I'm trying to figure out what to unpack first from that. I do want to get like your ancestry alone. I mean, why were you guys moving? So, I mean, you said you have a German father, and then you have you have a Colombian mother?
A Colombian, yeah. She was born in Colombia, raised in Caracas, from Venezuela.
Oh my God.
And so back in that time, they all migrated from Colombia to Venezuela. Now they're all going from Venezuela to Colombia. So, they're just going back and forth. But my mom, she's always been a gypsy at heart. She left Venezuela at 18. Met my dad, in a nightclub. They're the only two dancing during a rainstorm. And then I was born. My dad, he's in between America and Germany. He has a very successful jewelry company. And so, it's just been pretty cool. In Bermuda, when you grow up in a tiny island like that in the middle of the ocean, there's very few of us. It's a tiny island. It's only about 26 miles long and about a mile wide. And I think you see the world in like a certain way that just needs to be explored, and that's really what I've, been doing ever since then, and different passions and things like that. And that brought me here also.
Whoa. And then like going into Glasgow, I mean, you said you got into theater. Was that something you fell into, or had you kind of looked at acting as something you might want to try out before that?
I've always loved the idea. I was a shy kid growing up at summer camps and stuff, and they were always doing theater, and I always secretly wanted to be a part of that. But then in Calvin's side, like they forced us to do things in my school there. So I was forced to, play rugby at 6 o'clock in the morning, walking through ice and snow just to get a pounding, and then theater as well. And there was one instance where I did a pantomime to a friend who had passed away. And I remember there being like that awkward silence at the end of her performance. Um, I'm thinking about Beethoven or Mozart, but anyway. And it's just and I hear sobs in the crowd, and the effect that my performance had on the crowd is what made me fall in love with acting and the responsibility that comes with that. And I had no idea, because this was about me and my relationship with my friend and the life that he lived. And then I touched so many people with lives that they had with other people, and they came and they hugged me crying. And that was also the first time my dad ever came to anything I've ever done. So it was just, there's my friend, there's all that pathway of like, to my viewers, to my audience, and how impactful that was. And it just was so humbling. And then I knew that this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And I want to own that responsibility.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you already had this natural sort of empathetic aura to you. All of us as actors, we have that ability to kind of connect with our emotions in
Yeah.
both a good way or a bad way, right? So, like, having that natural skill, did you go from theater to, all right, well, like, you had that revelation, I want to do this. Was it always, I'm going to go back to the States and try to find work after training, or were you thinking about staying in in Scotland or staying in the UK?
Well, what happened at that point was, there was, rugby was, I was getting really good at rugby. And so then I was, because I'm American by nationality. So, I was invited to play with the United States under 25 developmental squad. And then I had gone to, South Africa to play rugby, Argentina as well, in Mar del Plata. And so like, this was like, it was just such a cool experience, because I'm just traveling with my backpack and, with a good attitude, and like beating rugby teams, and then like working at the bar and living atop the bar, and just like living that kind of, that backpacker rugby vagabond kind of lifestyle. And that was fun for a while. And then, and then after that, I'm sitting on my friend's boat in the British Virgin Islands, because we were planning an adventure tour as a business. And I remember thinking, because I had left theater for a moment there while I was doing all this stuff. And I remember thinking, is this something that I want to do for the rest of my life? And then I got a text of the image of a building in New Orleans. And it was hexagonally shaped. It was actually the restaurant in the type of Eiffel Tower in Paris in 1920s. My friend was saying they brought it to New Orleans for the World's Fair in '84. And we're going to open the world's greatest nightclub. Do you want to be a part of it? And so for 10 years, that's what I did. And so I was hanging out with the likes of Quentin Tarantino, who would come to our Latin nights. The guy's hilarious. He would book like this VIP section just by himself, and just like hang out with him and his manager and just have a blast. Beyonce and her sister Solange were clients of ours. We've done lots and lots of red carpet events and screenings as well. So that's what I was doing for that, from 2010 to about 2018. And it was honestly a dream. It was just feels like a dream, to be hanging with those people. And I met my good friend, Billy Slaughter, who's a well-known actor in New Orleans. And he had told me about his podcast. And it was the Hollywood South season 1, episode 1. And it's exactly how to get started as an actor from ground one without really having anything. Even though I had something, I wanted to start there. I like to start when I in the service industry, I like to start from the ground up and really get the feel of things. And so then I started with a little bit of background, and then I got bumped up to cast, and then I did it again, and they got bumped up again to cast. And so I thought that was kind of just really my frequency, like this is, this is like a river that I'm jumping in that just flows with me already. And so, and then I was like, hey, Billy, man, I've been following your podcast, like unbeknownst to him. He was like, no way. And I was like, and so, we were celebrating together. And then from there, it really took off. I was signed in New Orleans. And then, I moved to, my family lives in New Mexico, and during the pandemic, I wanted to be closer to them. And so I moved to New Mexico. I had a hard time at first finding representation. It didn't seem like anyone was hiring at the time. Everything was much slow. And then I went to Soul Acting School, where I met Peter Yankee with Fergun Mayer, who saw talent in me and decided to represent me. And it's been a fruitful relationship since then. But on my very first audition with my new agent in New Mexico, we landed Stranger Things, the very first one. And so that's just another sign after another sign that this, that we're exactly where we need to be.
Holy shit. The first audition you have with Peter, one, it's Stranger Things. Two, you nail it. In the final product, you fucking nail it even more. Like, are you on cloud nine now that you can finally talk about that and talk about your experience?
Like keeping my mouth shut for a year. That's like the hardest thing, and then it's like, and then as it comes out, I can talk about it a little bit, just to say like a minute. And then they're like, oh, cool. Snipers probably usually have like one or two lines, but then I saw it and I was like, damn, like, that this really goes to show like how good they are at, the Duffer Brothers and their editors, how good they are, because I mean, they used every bit of the footage and it came out great. And like, we absolutely nailed it. And my co-pilot, my pilot, Jason Caviello, is, there's that awesome synergy there. And we were just killing it. I mean, it was amazing. That's like that, those kind of opportunities are so rare. And then to nail it like we did is, maybe even rarer. So it's been great, man. Like a permanent smile painted on my face ever since it came out. So, and even when I go target shooting, I have that smile, which might look actually sinister. I wonder how that looks,
Yeah. This guy loves his job way too much.
Yeah, exactly. He's having too much. Oh, that's the helicopter. That's right. Well, because, chewing gum and causing carnage. And
yeah. I mean, the final product, it came out amazing. And yeah, I agree with you, because usually, for especially like myself and my friends, like Jason and I, we always have those bits in shows and movies where you are like the guard or the sniper. You have one or two lines and then that's it. But you guys had like a full on 2 to 3 minute sequence together.
Yeah,
like, that's real worthy.
Dude, absolutely. And so, I mean, being like, obviously we can't talk too much about it because some of the viewers may have not seen it, but just to be in that pivotal of a scene, we had that synergy. Jason and I had that synergy the moment we met each other in the trailer and just hitting it off, and then to take that in the helicopter, like two guys having that kind of synergy while doing what we're doing, as pivotal as it is with those characters and what they have and what happens. I mean, it's such a powerful moment, and I mean, the sense of gratitude is purely just overwhelming. I love it.
It's more exposure for you as a performer, not only for everybody who's watching it, but even through the Duffer Brothers themselves. I mean, there's so much opportunity for future projects, I would think, especially with you. It's one of those sequences that normally with anybody else it wouldn't stand out, but both of you guys, like, you killed it, and your viewers are linked into that scene. So I'm like, you said you have stuff coming up, which I know you probably can't talk about, but have you noticed a surge of interest or a surge of outreach from, like, say, Peter or other reps that you may have for auditions or self-tapes because of Stranger Things?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, everyone's been coming out of the woodwork. And what's really cool is that a lot of it's just, a lot of it's my old friends that I've lost track with over the years, and they're like, oh, no way. And then the other cool part of that is, management companies. I was just signed with PR Celebrity just this morning. And we're going to be making appearances worldwide, as well as as well as other things in the works that I can't really disclose now. But there certainly is an uptick in interest. I do have 2 movies coming out I could talk a little bit about, but I'm certainly being eyed for some very big productions that are taking place in the summer months, that take place in a different era out west, and that's all I can pretty say. That's all I can pretty much say about that for now.
Oh my God, that's awesome. No, seriously, it's well deserved. Congrats on those. Seriously, like it's just awesome seeing people like, and I automatically link to other artists this way. Like I'll just call you like, it's nice seeing a buddy go and achieve all these things that all of us are setting out to do, right? Like we should all be cheerleading each other. And I just want to say congrats on the success, man. It's
Thank you.
especially with your story. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
I'm very humbled, man. And thank you. And I guess I just want to give a message out there to a lot of aspiring actors. That they say that 95% don't make it, but 95% don't really try hard enough. So I truly believe that if you have that tenacity, if you have that, if there nothing is going to stop you, and obviously you have to love the auditioning process and the 99.9% of being rejected, most of the time. So in a way, you have to be a little bit of a masochist. But if you understand that, life is not about finding a job where you can have ends meet and then to have a little free time to find happiness. No, life is happiness, and it's the pursuit of it. Because while you're in the pursuit of it, you're also happy. And if you're doing that, and if you're in the frequency of what you love, then you're gonna do well. So don't ever give up if this is purely your dream. And I'm not saying that I'm testament to that now, but it's been working for me, and I hope it works for everyone who's really trying hard for whatever it is that they love.
Yeah. And honestly, man, it seems like more people who start this industry maybe a little bit later in life say, you're not starting at 16 to be like a teen actor. You're starting after you've had life experience. You've lived a life outside of it. So, hey, anything doesn't come up or hey, I'm rejected for that callback, I have a whole nother life separate from it. But I do want to know, with your life experience, with everything you've done before, what is your daily life like now? Do you work a full-time job? Do you, like what sort of things do you do during the day outside of auditions that sort of keep you busy or keep you focused on other elements of your life?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I gave myself a year last year, and I said to myself, I'm going to give myself 1 year to become a working actor. And normally, I treat this as a business, which usually takes 3 to 5 years to really get a business going. But I gave myself 1 year, and I'm there. And so I had saved up the funds to be able to do this for 1 year, where I could purely focus on just acting. So yeah, so what I do is, I'm engaged in acting classes galore. The communication method with good faith casting.
Yes.
Uh, they're amazing. James Dumont, he's been my coach since the beginning of my career. That guy's amazing. Eliza Castro, mostly known for Bloodline, good friend of mine, also acts as a manager. So I've been fortunate to have, all these classes and all these auditions to do, and all these other established actors to give me feedback. So I'm just always learning and absorbing. And when I'm not doing that, I'm in the mountains with my dog meditating, or walking around town reciting lines. I'm sure that looks weird to some people, but hey, we all do that. I like to hone my craft of target shooting and keeping fit in mixed martial arts, and so these characters that I portray, although I'm not really an asshole, as you might see,
Not at all.
you know, that there are other parts of that character that are true to life, and that's more of just like a just super focused but playful attitude, and just really enjoying life and staying focused and acting and honing my skills as well. Skills.
Oh man, I mean, giving yourself a 1 year goal is amazing enough to keep yourself grounded and keep yourself focused. Do you have a 3 to 5 year goal as far as like, you can't necessarily plan out where you want to be as far as how many movies or how many TV shows, but do you have, let's say, 5 years from now, where would you like to be career wise? Like, where would you like to be living? What would you like to be branded for? What do you have any goals for that?
Yeah. Well, first, I guess we could do it like in a sequence of time. So,
Yeah.
first, I would like to be, I am being branded as, as like your military, special forces sort of typecast, and I love it. I have lots of guys in the service, and they actually helped me with my auditions here and there, which is really cool. For Stranger Things, my buddy in the Delta Force, he specifically said, "Dude, make it look like you're attached to a lanyard." I might be the only person that actually did that. um, and so that's what I'm typecast as now. I have other stuff that I'm working on that show more of an emotional side. But where I see myself in 5 years from now, I love New Mexico. I really do. And I see there's so much potential here. There's so, we have obviously the Netflix studio, we have Universal Studios building a soundstage. There's so much work, and there's so many people, qualified people here, crew and actors alike. And so part of my goal is to, as an actor, as I rise, is to help rise the scene in New Mexico, all together, So, my agent and I were talking about ways to we can help bring up that standard a little bit. Because as you may know, a lot of these lead roles, they're still being cast from LA, and when there is a lot of quality here, and some of that is because, maybe the way that they're filming their auditions might not be, might just instantly just put them out of the runnings. And so to get, to provide something for our community here, like raise the baseline so that we're noticed more for more of these reoccurring and lead roles. I've always been an animal advocate. When I was a kid, I in Bermuda, I led an effort to ban shark finning off of British territorial waters, and it led to that. During the BP oil spill, the oil was approaching the shore, and I wanted to volunteer, and there was nowhere to go because you needed the hazmat training. So, I became a hazmat trainer. I flew to Ohio. I got the license. While I'm being trained, I had started a meetup group. We had thousands of people. We marched. We marched to Jackson Square in the French Quarter. We gave a speech that I'll train you all for free. We trained thousands for free. Then we formed a foundation called Defenders of the Coast, and we were working alongside the Coast Guard in Jefferson Parish and rescuing oiled birds. It's on Vimeo if you guys want to see it. Called Defenders of the Coast. There's a little pilot there that was filmed by 44 Blue Productions. So everything that I do, my friend, is with passion and love. Everything, and that's acting, that's rugby, that's my animal philanthropy, and that's New Mexico film now. And so, I've never set a goal that I haven't reached. So that's the goal within the next 5 years.
Holy shit, man. How much do you sleep a night?
Lately, none. But yeah, I just like to visit, man.
Yeah, and I love the animal advocacy too. Is that, I mean, would you ever consider funding a sanctuary, or like how many branches are you looking to kind of dive into, if
Well,
there's a limit?
yeah, I mean, I don't think there is, but I have plans here. Actress Sarah Starr is a very good friend of mine, and her and I are planning an animal sanctuary in the future. I mean, that's the dream is also to have like a ranch here in New Mexico where I rescue every animal manageable. Horses, cats, dogs, bears even. And so when I spent time in South Africa, I got to stay at a ranch like that, and they had rescued all kinds of wild animals. I made friends with a cheetah, and it was just like such an amazing experience. Yeah, so that, and so the longer term plan, as is to work alongside other actors that are doing the same things, like your Matt Damons of the world. I think that when you gain notoriety in whatever field that you're in, that you have a responsibility as a human being of this earth. And I was just, I was born with this thing where if I see a cause, I can rally people and we can go ahead and do it and do something about it. And so I see that as a responsibility too, that I have to continue to do.
Yeah, you have this innate leadership quality, even in the 25 minutes I've been talking to you, that I would follow you anywhere, man. I mean, you have that leadership quality that's so hard to build into somebody. I mean, thankfully you're using it for something great and something amazing, and not to just like produce some couple indie films in LA. You're doing something meaningful with it. And I think that's going to carry your career even more, because you aren't somebody who's just saying, oh, I'm an actor, and that's who I am. No, I mean, I feel like this is who you are.
Yeah.
You're a person of earth, to not sound
And
super weird.
that's okay. Yeah, I went to a Deepak Chopra event recently, and it's funny. Like one of the things, so he gives us 10 lessons to do every day, and one of them is to literally hug a tree every single day. So that's quite all right. You know,
Bro.
so once in a while, you might see me just like walk outside and hug a tree, and then go back inside.
Oh man, I hope they don't give you weird looks for doing that. I mean, we have people doing that all the time over here in Colorado. So I mean,
Oh,
we're
yeah,
huge nature folks up here.
I
Dude,
do
those
like
are amazing goals to have, and I can see you reaching those goals even sooner than that. Whether it's your acting or your activism, it just seems like you're somebody who you're fully confident in who you are, and you know what you want to do. It's just a matter of taking the time to do it, which you are doing in spades. It's fantastic, and there's like no easy way to segue from your activism to the arts industry. But I am kind of curious. You found Peter, you gained representation through him, you got your first audition through Stranger Things, you booked it. I am curious to hear about the auditioning process for that, because I assume there's a lot of NDAs, probably a couple of callbacks. What
right.
was that process like for you?
See, that's just a whole nother crazy thing. So yeah, typically it would seem like it would be like a normal audition where there are callbacks and things like that. But there wasn't one for this. Um, so I by the way, the audition process was well, I'll start from the beginning, because when I got the news, it was the best and worst day of my life. But I'll get into that in a second. So the audition process was just yeah, just my first audition request from Peter Yake for Gunmayer was for Stranger Things. I'm like, no way, sniper, perfect. So I instantly talked to my Delta buddy. Just worked out. He was in another country, and he was able to talk to me. The time was perfect, and so we talked about how we're going to do it. And I did it a few times, and I did some self tapes, and they're very, off the bat, they were very believable. I like to have obviously my managers look at them at that point, and then we just really define what a lot of actors do with weapons. And they say with auditions these days with weapons, ever since the Rust incident, they say you know to not use real firearms in auditions, and I could totally understand that and respect that. For me, I am well trained in them, and if you can do it well and be believable, then I'm going to do it, right? And so we did that in the audition, and I had sent off a couple versions to my manager. And what a lot of people do when they're doing gunplay is they tend to cover their eyes, which is, in audition you don't ever want to do. So if it's a scoped rifle like it was, obviously you cover the eyes. So you have to cheat that, And so we sent in what I believe to be just like the best audition I've ever done at that point in time. And I do think they've I do think the quality is even improving. And then it was only 2 days later, and I'm at the dog park, and I haven't heard anything about a call back, nothing. And I see a missed call from Peter, and I call him back, and he's like, "Stranger Things is yours." I'm like, "What?" Just like that. 2 days later, no call back, no nothing. And if you guys want to see an example of that awesome audition having to do with eye lines and framing and gunplay, if you have an audition coming up and there's stuff like that, please look at mine, because I do think it's pretty close to perfect. It is on my Instagram, so you'll be able to find it there and take a look at it. And then there was and then so we got it, and I was just, my whole family and I mean, we've just been in the clouds, and then the same day, the same day we had to get results from my mother's mammogram, and so then she was sick with cancer. So it was just like, oh my god, like the worst. Like, I've never experienced that before in my life. Like the best news you could possibly imagine, and then and God, and but that is all gone now. My mom is
Seriously.
100% healthy. We
Oh
all
my
had
God.
a family vacation at our place in Mexico, and it was an absolute blast. So everything is great. And she's she's sort of my dedicated reader now, and it's just lovely that I'm getting to spend all this time with her in Santa Fe as I'm building my house in Mesa del Sol at the moment, which is right across the Netflix studio, so I can be a part of everything.
Holy shit, man. I am so thankful to hear that your mother beat it. It's gone. She's cleared, right? She's good.
It's all clear, not a
Brother.
trick.
Oh my God. Dude, seriously. My most of the women on my mom's side have gone through the same thing, and it's always just the like it hits not only at inopportune times, but to the people that it should never happen to. So I'm glad to hear that she's, dude,
It's
seriously.
always the good. It's always the good ones, and then you got to be a rock for them, and then at the same time be a rock for yourself. It's not easy, but you know, my mom is an amazing human being, and she only has good things coming her way because good karma's coming. But yeah, so then so then that happened, and then
Mm.
everything's been great. Um, I continued to book roles after that. I think for a little while there, I might have been, this is just me, but one of our fastest growing actors. I've maybe been averaging about a booking a month. And in New Mexico, and this is really the slow time too, from
Yeah.
January till now, more or less. And I attribute that to a lot of my coaching, that the time and availability that I've had for this. Um, and so, can I mention a couple of things that are coming out soon? Like, there's
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And I'll write it down. I'll put it in the show notes too.
yeah, so there's oh man, so uh, there's a VR coming out probably in the winter time for virtual reality. It is a local indie spy drama adventure story, uh, directed by Robert Brown, Robert Town, where I play a Russian villain with accent and everything, and we hired a local stunts agency for that. So we had a month of stunt training, and so the fight scenes are absolutely amazing. So the storyline is, more or less, is that I'm a Russian villain, connected to the Kremlin, and I mess with the minds of American spies through the use of virtual reality. So it's going to be in lots of film festivals around the world, and can't wait for that to come out. And the next one is the feature film Lonesome Soldier, with my supporting role as the drill sergeant, and that should be hitting Netflix in the fall. It's a Netflix production,
Holy crap, man.
I believe.
Well, I'm still flabbergasted. A booking a month is unheard of for any actor, especially, once it seems like you've hit a stride, like you found the secret, man. And now you're just booking constantly with doesn't sound like any need to obtain another service job or, be a bouncer at a club or anything like that. Like that.
Yeah,
Uh, and you're building a
unfortunately,
house across from Netflix studios. That
yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I'll have a housewarming party, man, and I'd love for you to come.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
man. I was in Albuquerque last summer for a quick shoot, and driving past the studios is like you get chills. You're just
you
like
really
the
that whole area is just like, you feel like it's dedicated to film.
yeah.
And that there are directors and producers living there or staying
Mhm.
there, throughout their time filming there, and so that it's just and whenever I drive to Albuquerque, I just feel that welcoming vibe of film, and then I get that even more as I go into Mesa del Sol, and it'll be done in the winter time. Obviously there's shipping delays and stuff because of what's going on
Yeah.
all around the world. But it's gonna be a beautiful home, and I can't wait to entertain my friends there. So
Hell yeah,
uh,
brother. Oh, I'll make the drive down there in a heartbeat. You just let me know when the housewarming party's coming, and I'll be there for sure, dude.
that's one thing I will promise you.
I, looking at you, you have this regal presence to you, and I'm curious to know, do you have like idols in mind when you're acting, or not when you're acting, but maybe people you've looked up to when you were younger that maybe you emulate a little bit? Is there anybody that comes to mind?
Um, yeah, and I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name. The author of The Old Man and the Sea,
Oh,
Hemingway. Ernest,
yeah,
yeah. So,
yeah,
so I'm actually not. I'm more of a reader than a TV watcher. And growing up in an island, I've always, I remember reading, that novel on my dock, looking at fish, and he was an adventurer too.
yeah.
And the crazy thing is that he once entertained himself at the venue when it was in Paris that then came to New Orleans that then I then owned. Um, and so Hemingway, just how he was as a person, as a philanthropist, as a lover, as a human being, I've always admired him, as a human being and as a writer.
Mhm.
Um, so I tend to line myself with this kind of energies.
Yeah. So, is The Old Man and the Sea your favorite Hemingway novel?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, because of
Yeah.
I guess the affinity I had with the character.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a solid book. I'm a huge fan of The Sun Also Rises, which a lot of my friends don't
Yeah,
don't like.
that's,
Uh, but no, I could see that because you have that adventurous soul to you, and it honestly, I, I think there's an attraction to you with your performance and with the industry itself that you are somebody who does not have to rely on this for your life. You are happy in every single other avenue so that there's no
yeah,
smell of desperation, right? So when you go into an audition, man, you might be nervous, but I guarantee you the CDs, the directors, they're looking at you going, "Oh, this guy, he's gold. Like he's fine. He's
yeah,
he's not shaking when we ask him, 'So what do you do?'" you know?
yeah, yeah. I just feel like you just really there's just no time for that. It's just
Yeah.
be yourself, be you, be comfortable in your skin, and just you know,
Yeah.
everything fine.
So, are you going to the Southwest Actors Conference in September?
Yes, yeah, actually I am. Will I see
Awesome.
you there?
You might. Yeah, I have some previous engagements that week, so I'm trying to figure out how to fly or drive out there within like 12 hours of that thing happening. But
Yeah.
it's on the docket. I'll be in Phoenix first week of August for a commercial shoot,
Oh,
so I
no.
guess I'll get the lay of the land. But yeah, I've never. Did you go last year? I haven't been at all.
No, no, I haven't been at all either. But as I'm more there and as I'm living in Albuquerque, I'll be, I plan to attend, a lot of that stuff. I've been doing a lot of traveling lately as well. But yeah, I'll
Yeah.
definitely be in that one in September.
Oh hell yeah! And honestly, I want to go back really quick to your studying. You're studying with Faith, and you're studying with a bunch of other professionals. Do you have a technical approach to your performance? Like some people are more Meisner based, some are more Stanislavski, some are more some are trying to go more Nicolas Cage with the New Nouveau style,
I
but
Yeah, more Stanislavski to be honest with you. Um, just more of a method actor. I would find because of all my life experiences and things that I could draw upon. Um, yeah, so I would say closer to Stanislavski. Yeah.
oh nice, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
I can't ask
and
that question to anybody, but I have to, like it seems
yeah.
like you study a lot, so I have to, I'm curious.
Um, I mean, thankfully, a lot of what I've learned lately is just because I've been so inundated with auditions is the feedback on my auditions. But I will tell you that good faith casting really helps a lot with a lot of these nonverbal cues. Things that things more on a psychological level that a lot of people don't know about. Where that really helps. And James Dumont more of that. It's more method and more drawn back on previous experiences and then being that character and bringing that to the character.
I I just thought of this, and I think I know the answer, but would you ever consider playing Hemingway, or do you feel like that would be too daunting of a role?
I would absolutely love that. I would jump all over that, like, well, man, let me, yeah, like,
Like
yeah,
an honest to God depiction of Hemingway, not this like Hollywood. I love Baz Luhrmann, but something that's a little more grounded and gritty. I feel like you would nail
Yeah,
that.
he was a thinker. He was a deep thinker. He had his heart broken a lot of times. Like, you know, there were lots of times when he was probably just drinking alone, and, you know, and deep in thought, where a lot of his stories come from, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I would love to play that role.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, man. And I mean, you're a deep thinker yourself. You say you meditate when you go on walks or you're going over lines. But do you have any preference as far as music goes to allow you to decompress? Are you a heavy music guy, or do you prefer like the sounds of nature?
Actually, I was having that conversation today with my actress friend Sarah.
Mm.
So there's the sound of nature, which you can probably hear around me. Nothing can beat that. But when I can't be in nature and I have to be in my office, I'm a huge believer in binaural beats. You know, and so for me, you know, if whatever state I'm trying to get in. So when I meditate, you know, you want to get in that place like in between thoughts. That's that place of like pure silence. And sometimes when you have so much going on, it takes a while to get there. But I'll listen to, you know, binaural beats, usually theta waves, to and I'll play that on my headphones while I'm reciting lines or working on anything, and that gets me right there. So for anyone who's, you know, who wants to, you know, who's an actor and you know has been struggling with their lines, like, let me tell you, that's hands down. You'll notice an improvement in your ability to retain information.
I've never heard of that. Is there a playlist on YouTube, or is there like a Spotify
Well, if you,
playlist?
there's so well, if you go to YouTube, you could type in binaural beats for concentration, for sleep, for theta. And so what you want to do is, you know, you do want to, because it's very audible. So obviously you want to have the best headphones possible to listen to it. And then there are even such things as mind machines, which you know, which is like that, but there's one called a casino. Um, but that's, you know, that might be a topic for another time. But that's, you know, it then combines like audio and visual, and then, you know, and then you can get yourself into these states for whatever intentions you might have.
Whoa. Okay, I'm definitely looking that up for the next couple of auditions I got to send in, because as you know, you might get quick turnarounds where it's three
Yeah,
to five pages of dialogue and you have 5 hours to send it in. No extension.
yeah, exactly. I know, and then a challenge like that, like I do love, and it's like, yeah, it's like, all right, get to work time, headphones, desk. You know, as you know, we probably write it out 1,000 times, and then underline
Oh,
things,
yeah.
and then practice, and then look at ourselves, and, you know. So,
Would you say you're like more of a photographic memorization type actor, or do you go through it a couple of times or maybe even more than that to get that flow? Like, what's your connection to the text?
well, so I've, like, throughout different classes, you know, I've had, you know, throughout the years of how to do that, you know, I've been able to take like different approaches, um, and so, you know, one is basically I'll read the script 20 times over without making any decisions on anything whatsoever. And then I'll go in there and without still making decisions, I'll still underline what I think are action words. And then I'll read that 20 times over. Then I'll throw that away. And then I'll write everything through memory like maybe 1,000 times over. And then I'll go to the dog park and walk with my dog and recite these lines. And as you know, like the more we do it, the more light bulbs come off. And so after 10,000 times, I'm like, all right, let's do this. Mhm.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love that. That's the part of me that nerds out, is how people are memorizing lines, because everyone's different.
Yeah. There is another one too. I forgot the guy's name for the method, and this was tremendous help. So what I do, it's a way of making the words visual in a way. So, you know, so you have like, so I write all my notes on little pieces of cardstock, and so I'll write I'll write all the sides out, and then I'll have another card which with a little piece cut out. So I'm only saying word by word. So I'll say the words as I'm moving, and then repeat it every time. So it's like, so before you say the word, you reveal the word, and that does something visually to your head, to your mind. Just revealing the word before you say it, it does something. So yeah, so that's a neat little trick that's
Oh
been helping
yeah.
out.
That's a God, what's the technical term for that? I can't they use it for foreign language classes too, from what I remember years and years and years ago. But yeah,
So
I that makes total sense.
yeah, Yeah, and then discovering how you learn, like most people, like if you study how languages are formed, it's really like, it's to express what we're seeing. And so we always, we pick up people's, micro movements before our brain even realizes what they are. So most of us by nature are visual. So all these little tricks that help you that help you bring the verbal back to its original source of the imagery. And then for me, that really helps even seeing the scene better, and then getting the feel of the scene and the environment, like the space.
Yeah, dude, I love your, very sort of ethereal and wise approach to the craft itself. It's something that I don't think anyone's really brought up on this podcast, and it's so it almost seems so revolutionary, but from, I'm sure, your perspective, it's just natural, right? It's just the way that it ought to be, and it's not this grand sort of cosmic thing acting. It's just being a human. So I love your approach to it, man. And you have you have a lot of stories, I'm sure, that have gone out through your entire life that have made an impact on you. But I'm wondering, and I love asking this of our guests, but if you have a party story that you could share with us, so something that you would tell at a party because the story itself was so impactful or has stuck in your mind so well throughout the years. Do you have something that you could share, whether it's, working in the arts industry, being on the set of Stranger Things, or, showing Tarantino to his table in New Orleans?
Guys, yeah. I mean, the parties that I go to these days, our conversations are more existential in nature. 20 years ago, that would be a different story. Well, maybe even so, but um, so I'm big on transformation, especially since we come from a very hard time, and there's a lot of good things to take from this, and that's that a lot of people have been able to really take this time to refocus on their true calling. And so a lot of people have done what I've been doing in their own respective fields. And that is something that I applaud. It's that, it's that pursuit of what it is that you're meant for. So, being big on transformation, brings me back to a story. And I was always a big adventurer, as you know, and I would travel the world and, with my backpack, my fins and a spear gun. And I would live off the fish that I would spear and find the most beautiful beach in the middle of nowhere. And so here I am, and I pull up, after 2 days of driving through deserts in Baja California to this one beach, and it's called Playa de los Muertos, and that means Beach of the Dead. And the reason why they call it that is because it's so beautiful and so pristine that they created so many myths and legends that to keep people away, because it's just so beautiful. It's a spiritual place. I mean, it's too beautiful. I couldn't stay away. So I pull up, I pitch my tent, I'm laying out all my gear, my fins, my knife, my spear gun, my mask. And then all of a sudden, a giant caravan of cars is just driving down, driving up, and then they pull over 500 feet to my left. A family of just families, of locals come out and have this giant party, and they're, putting up and they're literally 500 feet from me. And it's all bears as far as the eye could see. And it's just picture, and I'm just like, okay, guess I'll make the most of it, and then later on that evening, I noticed to the other side this commotion, and then the kids are around this little thing that's kind of flopping on the ground, and then they're quickly followed by their fathers, who are bringing knives and machetes. And then I go to see what it is, and I'm standing behind this girl, and I've never been afraid to be vocal of what's right, and I won't, even if I have to put my life in jeopardy, I'll always do what's right. And sea turtles cry, man. This thing was on its back, and it actually wails like a baby, right? And this is a big crime that happens in the Baja Coast. Is a lot of people harvest the sea turtle eggs, and they even harvest the meat. And I said to them, I was like, oye, mira, ustedes no van a comer este animal, okay? Sabes, which is in English means, listen, you guys are not going to eat this animal. I was a little bit aggressive at first, but then I just and this thing is on its back crying. And these guys are who's this gringo telling us what to do? You know, so it was I had to make a point. Do I either just like barge through this crowd or just walk away? So I pushed my way through. I was always a big guy, you know. And then I lift this turtle onto its stomach, and it was just perfect. You know, the wave came, and I took this turtle and I glided it back into the water. Animals are grateful, man. You know, and you could see that. And then, but the surreal moment wasn't the moment was, you know, because the turtle was having a hard time regaining its energy and strength. So, you know, as the sea was as the sea was you know, rescending, and as it's going with it, it looked very weak. And so we're watching it, and as it began its strength to swim, you know, the transformation was in the people that were there. You know, like that crowd that was with me watching this animal. You know, they were transformed in that moment. You know, because that turtle had like this look of like, I was saved. It added, you know, I guess to them, you know, humanity to an animal. To me, we're all the same. We're all, you know, animal species that cohabitate this planet. But for them, it looks sentient, you know. And then later that night, they walked over to my tent, and they said that their grandmother wants to meet me. And as you know, in these Latin communities, you know, the grandmother is the ultimate matriarch, right? And so she's there, and she's stirring this big old pot that they must have had for 100 years, you know, and like the best soup you can imagine, all kinds of meats in there. And so I'm just hanging out there all night with the grandmother while they're feeding me some clear looking moonshine, having a blast with these guys, having this old, you know, Aztec grandmother just telling me stories about her people in the area. And we spent the whole night talking, and I ended up going fishing with these guys the next day. And you know, we caught a couple of marlin to eat that there, and so we're just making ceviche right there and sharing. And you know, at first I was annoyed that they were 500 yards away from me, but we were there for 3 days. You know, after that moment of transformation, you know, of just an awesome time with myself and this Mexican family that had been there for over 100 years on this beach called Playa de los Muertos in the middle of nowhere, Baja California. Absolutely amazing.
I, dude, I have no fucking words for that. Like, I have no words for that. I well, one, like I can't fathom standing in that moment, you know, where there's, you were talking about transformation, there's those moments of like high tension, but immediately followed by that sense of connectivity and
Yeah.
recognizing sentience. Like that's it makes me want to like tear up thinking about it, dude. Like it's fantastic. And you found a kinship with the like with this random group of people that at one point could have easily tried to attack you for like moving in.
Yeah. And what started as like ultimate annoyance, because they're like, you know, who's this gringo? And obviously like Spanish is my first language. So I know they're
Yeah.
like not happy on there.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, from that like ultimate to like just like to like family, you know, it's just amazing.
Bro. Oh my God.
It's
Like
those
and
dualities live for, right? Like how could
yeah.
you know one extreme if you don't know the other? You know?
Yeah.
And I think that also can transcend into our performances on screen as well.
Dude, you if you don't write a memoir like in the next 5 years, I'm just gonna get all these stories recorded and I'll publish it myself.
Or
You're
maybe put an adventure and just make more stories, man.
dude, you're fucking awesome. Like we've never met in person, but when you reached out, I had this feeling of like, yeah, I definitely want to talk to this guy. Like it just
Thank you. I certainly have.
there's yeah, it's just it's awesome connecting with you, dude. And like that story is gonna stick with me for a while because I can see all of it happening. I can visualize it, and I yeah, I don't know. That just I want to say right now, like that story itself is a gift. So thank you for giving that to me. And you know, you had talked about you know, you started that organization. It was I wrote it down here. It was Defenders of the Coast, right? You had
Yep.
that. You have your movies coming up. Is there anything else that we can give a shout out or promotion to, whether it's another organization or a charity that you really believe in? Is there something else I can put on the episode as well?
Well, I'm a big supporter of the Humane Society of Español.
Mm.
Um, yeah, they're closer to me here, and so I make so anything that we can do to help our animals. Um, you know, I tend to stay away from donating to human causes because I think that we just, by all means, do it. I just think that we're responsible for so much when I'd rather spend my funds and my time on the innocent, right?
Yeah.
And so the Wounded Warrior Project is a big one. Um, as a matter of fact, I really like to do something either with residuals with Stranger Things or upcoming war movies where for whatever war movie I'm in, I think it's right that a percentage goes to the Wounded Warrior Project.
Mhm.
So I'm still trying to figure out what that is, but there's we have to get back to those guys, especially if we make movies about them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. No, those are all amazing. And I'm gonna make sure we shout those out as well. And you touched on a lot of it earlier on in this conversation, but is there one more piece of advice you could pass on to arts workers who are just starting out, or maybe they've been in it for a bit and they're trying to stick it out? Do you have a piece of wisdom you can also impart on them in addition to what you had mentioned before?
To not be afraid, and if a lot of us artists, we're actually, we're empathists and for the most part, and we're actually secretly introverts. To not be afraid. If you need your downtime, nature's a really good part for that. Do put yourself out there. Know that there's nothing ever holding you back. That whatever it is that you want to do in life is really a switch. And feel yourself being there. If you can feel yourself being where your goal is, then you're already there, and that's how it acts like a switch. And I guess one last thing that I want to share with everybody, and this is probably one of the aside from hugging a tree every day, lesson two from Deepak Chopra to me was to and I'm happy I gave you a gift by telling you my story, but it's exactly to give everyone a gift that you come across. And that gift could just be a thought, like, I hope you have an awesome day. Like even on set, even if I'm not in something, it's just like, what, I hope you're gonna kill it, man. You know, like if you look like someone's just having a bad day, just be like, "No." And believe it or not, even though they're not hearing your words, that we live in an energy world, they are receiving it to some extent, you know. And if you go around with that kind of attitude, I just think that, you know, you are your thoughts, right? And so if you are your thoughts and you're doing what you love, and you have a method to it, and you're ready to put yourself out there and do it. If it feels right, just do it, and you can't go wrong.
Yeah. No, those that belongs in a fucking shirt too, dude. Seriously, if more people did that, we'd be happier in our lives. So
Yeah.
that's just it's another thing that I want to thank you for delivering that, for giving me a gift, for chatting with me. I have one more thing before I stop the recording here, and it's a lot of people haven't. I grew up on 90s comedy VHS tapes. So it's, I'm linked to every single good or bad comedy from like 85 to 97. And my show, we end every episode with an awkward goodbye. And it's me giving you a silent Wayne's World countdown. And when I point to you, giving us your best verbal, or it could even be nonverbal awkward goodbye. And then I stop the recording right there. Are you familiar with Wayne's World at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go with that goodbye. Wait.
Yeah,
Say
yeah,
it
yeah.
again.
So they're camera guy every time they shoot, and it's a pivotal moment in the movie too, where things just switch. But he just does this like three, two,
Oh,
one, and then when he points, that's when like these guys they just start freaking out. So we like to end every episode with just an awkward goodbye. Do you feel like you could muster up something awkward for me?
oh man. Let me see. I can't throw out lines from Stranger Things, can I? Um,
I mean, you could you could probably do volume one.
like, what's an example of being awkward, dude?
It's always easy to be awkward until you ask somebody to be awkward, and then we start overthinking.
I'm like awkward in general. I think.
You know what? We'll just do it. I'm just gonna do it really quick, and then whatever comes out comes out. You'll be golden, man. No pressure. Let's here. Ready? I'm just gonna wind you up here. And three, two, one.